this diagram has a problem. It maps the money flow between the most powerful AI companies in what some experts call circular deals, meaning these arrows show hundreds of billions of dollars flowing between a handful of players, particularly Nvidia and OpenAI. A lot of the time when we've seen this happening in the past, it's been followed by a massive bubble, like this one in railroads, the internet, and the housing market. But the problem with this diagram is actually deeper than just the flow of money. It's a question of the underlying business model and the unproven benefit of this technology. So is AI actually in a bubble, and what would that mean for us if it pops? The first reason people are starting to raise the alarm lately is because the reality doesn't quite match expectations. What was supposed to be innovation is starting to look a lot more like financial engineering. I mean, how come chip makers are investing in their customers and data center operators are partnering with their biggest clients, and all of this is starting to look a bit too much like 1999, but for now, let's just make sense of this pile of spaghetti. So, the stars of the show are OpenAI and Nvidia, and the story here is the flow of money. In September, OpenAI committed to pay Oracle $300 billion for compute infrastructure over the next 5 years. That's a part of a data center project called Stargate, valued at around $500 billion, to which SoftBank is also contributing. OpenAI has also made a $22 billion deal with CoreWeave for data centers, which, by the way, are packed with Nvidia GPUs. There's another deal with Google for an undisclosed amount, and there's another partnership with Broadcom to develop and deploy AI chips, also for an undisclosed amount. And as if that were not enough, OpenAI agreed to buy chips from AMD in exchange for about 10% stake in the company. Now, here's the funny part. OpenAI doesn't actually have that kind of money. Its revenue is around $17 billion and the profits are still deeply negative. So, a fair question is, who's actually financing this impressive shopping spree Sam Altman has been on lately? Well, Microsoft has invested about $14 billion in OpenAI since 2019, and more recently, Nvidia made a $100 billion infusion, likely expecting at least some of that money will boomerang back to them through GPU purchases from OpenAI. I could keep listing examples for another few minutes, but I think you get the point. A diagram looking like this is obviously going to make some people worried. So if you wanna know if this is bad, well, the really frustrating answer is it might be, but not necessarily. The most compelling explanation I found says it's actually common for companies to partner up when building massive infrastructure like this, because no one has the money to do it alone. And if the demand for data centers keeps growing in the future, then there's probably nothing to worry about. Emphasis on the if. In the early 2000s, at the peak of the internet boom, only about 7% of the fiber optic network was actually being used. Today, data center utilization sits close to 80%, with a vacancy rate at record lows. Which means for now, the risk is not building too many data centers, but rather not building them fast enough, since the demand for compute is growing exponentially. So, is there real demand for the infrastructure that's being built? Yes. Can we expect that trend to continue? Debatable. The only way to make sure this demand keeps growing is if consumers can actually get value out of using AI. And we've been promised a lot. From replacing designers and writers, to lawyers and consultants, to even helping discover new materials and potentially cure human diseases. But if we take a step back for a quick reality check, it's worth asking how much of that is actually happening. Luckily, there are already quite a few reports that look into how people and businesses are using AI, and what kind of results they are actually getting in return. The best one I found is a study from MIT. What makes it so good is it looks at AI use cases through two lenses, one being the individual employee and the other being the business as a whole. Unsurprisingly, the study found that employees are increasingly using consumer AI tools to get their work done, although the use cases still seem to be quite limited. And this part is important. Using AI for simple tasks, such as drafting emails, summarizing text, and taking notes, is indeed impressive because it clearly gives the employees a noticeable boost in productivity. However, it is still very debatable how much of that productivity boost will actually appear in companies' profits. It will probably translate into some gains, but only to a certain degree, and that might not be enough to justify the massive investments being made into AI right now. And this is where the bigger problem starts. The billions being poured into AI were never meant to serve individuals. They were meant to help businesses automate, streamline costs, and potentially save trillions of dollars in labor expenses. And yet, the same study found 95% of pilot programs using generative AI have so far produced zero returns, which is, to put it mildly, quite disappointing. But we also have to talk about what's coming in the near future. If you listen to any AI CEO, you've probably heard them predict AGI within the next year or so. That means they are promising to deliver an AI that can handle a wide range of tasks at roughly the same level as an average human. But the latest product release from OpenAI is a video generating app many people have labeled as one of the worst things they've ever seen. By the way, they never really clarified what the use case is, but it seems like making fun of Sam to the point of humiliation ended up being the main one. If that doesn't inspire much optimism, you've got to know that the next big thing on the schedule is giving users the ability to generate adult content. Now, I'm not saying this is completely useless. There will always be people who want to watch that kind of content or even indulge in a virtual relationship. There's certainly some level of interest there. But again, in this video we're asking a different question. Does this kind of use case really justify the investments and the valuations? Because the math doesn't quite add up, does it? Look at this chart again. The latest OpenAI valuation sits at around $500 billion, an amount that doesn't seem to be supported by any fundamentals. We've already seen what the current use cases look like, and even the ones coming in the near future don't exactly justify that number. But hey, there's always a chance they'll reach AGI or cure cancer next year, although it seems a little detached from reality. And if the hype keeps growing faster than the results, things could get dicey. Historically, periods of economic bubbles are pretty rare, but when they do happen in one sector, they tend to spread across the whole economy, and as a result, a lot of people get hurt. The only real solution is for everyone to lower their expectations and stay grounded in reality. And remember, like any other technology, AI has its limitations. Okay, let's talk about the upside as well. It would be very unfair to ignore it entirely. And the last time we're looking at this diagram, I promise. I want you to notice how many of these companies are in direct competition with each other. Remember the $100 billion OpenAI got from Nvidia? Well, they turned around and made deals with AMD and Broadcom, which are Nvidia's direct competitors. But don't judge too harshly, because Nvidia is not better. Apart from financing OpenAI, they also found xAI, which is OpenAI's direct competitor. What I'm trying to say is these companies might act like friends, but they all know they are in a fierce race to win us, the consumer, and that means we are likely to benefit from better and cheaper offers.